this new shift will be a significant boost in our determination to strengthen our objective in achieving food security.
Federal government takes bold steps to address food security in Nigeria as President Muhammadu Buhari hosts AFDB President.
Are all together in this, trying to shape very strategic means of delivering services to Nigerian people.
APC Tripartite Consultative Committee meeting fashions ways of moving the country forward. And 500 card readers destroyed by fire at INEC office in Akure. Good evening, and thanks for joining us on NTA Network News tonight. I'm Cyril Stober in Abuja, and Michael Olale is in Lagos, and in Benin is Ogochukwuka Ona. Nothing succeeds like success. These were the exact words used by President Muhammadu Buhari to formally congratulate the newly re-elected president of the African Development Bank, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, who paid him a thank you visit. State House correspondent Adamu Sambu has the report.
Nigeria's Akinwumi Adesina had without doubt overcome stiff opposition to win an unprecedented 100% votes from both the regional and non-regional blocs that make up the African Development Bank to retain his position as president for a second term of 5 years. President Muhammadu Buhari had recommended Dr. Adesina and supported his election both in 2015 and this year, despite the differences in their political affiliation. The FDB president served as minister under the PDP government, and President Muhammadu Buhari belongs to the APC. Given reasons for his support, the Nigerian leader said Dr. Adesina is not only a good Nigerian and proved to be competent, but also made the nation proud. He used the opportunity to commend the bank's chief for the intervention by the financial institution in Nigeria and Africa, stressing that the infrastructural deficits the country has in roads, rail, and power could not be overcome without the support, and wished him all the best in his final term. The FDB president thanked President Buhari and Nigerians for their support, saying he is proud to be a citizen of Nigeria where his dream was born, nurtured, and supported for realization. He particularly appreciated the president for not only standing behind but also beside him, saying no greater honor for a man than for his commander-in-chief to be his supporter-in-chief and indeed his defender-in-chief. Dr. Adesina said Nigeria gave him air when he badly needed it, and therefore pledged to always support the country in his private capacity and as president of the African Development Bank. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
In the meantime, President Muhammadu Buhari says the heightened global concern around food supply systems notwithstanding, his administration will neither waver nor lose focus in its quest for food security. Speaking at a crucial meeting of the National Food Security Council, the president reassured farmers of government's continued support to the various food enhancement initiatives and many more to come. Here again is Adamu Sambo with that.
The meeting presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari was in response to the recent surge in food prices with the ability to threaten genuine efforts at achieving national food security. Events in the last 6 months, for instance, occasioned by COVID-19, the president said have demonstrated vulnerabilities to food supply systems around the world and exposed the limits of dependency on other countries. He said the wisdom by the federal government to promote self-sufficiency over the years helped significantly in averting food crises.
The nation thanks our farmers for rising to the occasion and answering a national call. I am pleased to note that most Nigerians are taking advantage of the opportunities in the agriculture and the agri-business sector. I want to assure you that this government will continue to support these initiatives and many more to come.
He described as delightful that in spite of the decline in GDP by 6.1% in the second quarter of 2020, the agricultural sector continued to grow because of government's targeted policies on agriculture.
While our key actors in the agricultural space are championing increased hectareages under cultivation, we need to pivot our attention and resources to how we can improve yield per hectare. This new shift will be a significant boost in our determination to strengthen our objective in achieving food security.
And to protect agricultural investments and boost farmers' confidence, the federal government deployed thousands of agro-rangers and integrated rural communities to the formal economy, while strategic grains reserves built and stocked from where significant quantities released to cushion the adverse impact of COVID-19 on vulnerable households and industries.
Unfortunately, the recent floods have adversely impacted our preparations. Lives were lost and livelihoods were wiped away. As a government, we will do all it takes to support those impacted by this disaster.
The Chief of Staff to the President, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, had informed President Buhari that he had earlier met with agricultural commodity associations to ascertain the root causes of the recent spike in food prices.
We have been informed that prices are actually currently on the decline as new grains have been introduced to the market. For example, new maize, which was previously sold at 25,000 naira per bag, is now being sold between 12,000 and 17,000 naira, and is expected to fall between 7,000 and 8,000 naira per bag by November 2020.
I'm confident that the commitment of the Nigerian government, ably led by President Muhammadu Buhari, and mobilization of all stakeholders, there's very strong expectation of high output during this harvest season. Because Nigerians are waking up to the belief that, yes, we should take pride in what we produce and consume what we produce.
Apart from receiving update on presidential directives and initiatives aimed at protecting and further enhancing food security in Nigeria, the meeting was also briefed on the 2020 wet and dry seasons, economic sustainability interventions, humanitarian support, as well as agricultural development initiatives of the Central Bank of Nigeria. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
And still staying with food matters, President Buhari has warned the Central Bank of Nigeria against issuing any kobo of the country's reserves for the importation of food items and fertilizer. The president gave the warning at a closed session of the National Food Security Council, saying he will pass it down in writing that, quote, nobody importing food should be given money. He emphasized the need to boost local agriculture as government rolls out the economic sustainability plans and sets goals for national food security. President Buhari also directed blenders of fertilizer to convey their products directly to state governments so as to skip the cartel of transporters undermining efforts at successfully delivering the products to users at reasonable costs. The Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Dr. Zainab Ahmed, highlighted government's resolve to facilitate the cultivation of 20,000 to 100,000 hectares of new farmland in every state and support the takeoff of agro-processing to create millions of direct and indirect job opportunities. On his part, Controller General of Customs, Hamid Ali, expressed the hope of an early reopening of the partially closed borders, given the progress made with neighboring states in joint border patrols, one of the key conditions by Nigeria for reopening of the borders. Now, in the meantime, the Association of Food and Agro-Processors is seeking more public investment in the food processing value chain to curb food shortages and help moderate fluctuation in food prices. Officials of the association made the appeal during an engagement with the Minister of Science and Technology. Hamman Jabani reports.
In spite of oil, agriculture remains the base of the Nigerian economy, providing the main source of livelihood for most Nigerians. But due to non-conservation and poor handling of agricultural produce and making it usable as food, feed, fiber, fuel, or industrial materials, the country is losing billions of naira annually. Agro-processing is regarded as the sunrise sector of the nation's economy in view of its potential for growth and likely socio-economic impact on employment and income generation. This is what the Association of Food and Agro-Processors is seeking from the Ministry of Science and Technology.
The scope of the agro-processing industry encompasses all operations from the stage of harvest till the material reaches the end users in the desired form: packaging, quantity, quality, and price.
We want to diversify our economy, and we want to diversify our economy in a sustainable manner. And there is no better way to do it except deploying science, technology, and innovation.
The association also wants government to introduce technology for the processing and packaging of food, crops, animal products with the aim of boosting shelf life, remain safe for consumption and retain nutritional value, and make available low cost and quality food processing equipment for the SMEs, which will entail post-harvest and processing practice for preservation and processing of agricultural produce to achieve food security. Hamman Jabani, NTA News.
Deregulation of the petroleum downstream subsector is a policy direction in the interest of Nigerians. Minister of State Petroleum Timipre Silva, while interacting with journalists in Abuja, said with the latest development, government can now concentrate fully on developing the refineries to operate optimally. Salihu Abdullahi reports.
The year 2020 came with its uniqueness, particularly with the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic affecting both developed and less developed nations globally. Development analysts say has sharpened and re-amended government policies, including Nigeria. Minister of State Petroleum Timipre Silva says in order to keep faith with the contract between the Buhari-led administration and Nigerians to provide purposeful leadership informed the latest government's action that affects one of the critical sectors of the nation's economy. With the removal of fuel subsidy, he disclosed Nigeria will be saving about ₦1 trillion each year, adding that his ministry has already removed a subsidy budgetary provision of about 500 billion naira from this year's budget, in addition to other excess forex prize hitherto given to NNPC.
What we have done is to sequence the rehabilitation of the refineries. We are going to start first with Port Harcourt refineries. Now, there is going to be a third refinery within Port Harcourt refinery, which is going to co-locate. It's going to be a private refinery, but it's going to co-locate with the two refineries in Port Harcourt. That project is going, the EPC for Port Harcourt refinery will be signed in Q4 of 2020. And by Q1 2021, work will start in earnest. Discussions are ongoing with the rehabilitation of Warri and Kaduna as well. And I want to assure you that with deregulation, it won't be difficult for us to do that, to fix these refineries, because these will be commercially viable ventures now.
The minister says Nigerians will begin to see more development as more money will be available to the government that will be put into critical infrastructure. In Abuja, Salihu Abdullahi, NTA News.
Well, a report coming in says the Independent National Electoral Commission INEC head office in Akure, Ondo State is on fire. Correspondent Shegun Ojelade reports that a large container housing the over 500 card readers for the October 10 governorship election in the state has been razed. Now, INEC National Commissioner for Information and Voter Education, Festus Okoye, is on ground in Akure. He joins me now via telephone. Mr. Okoye, Thanks for joining us. If you can hear me, what's the situation at this moment? Mr. Okoye, are you with us? Well, I'm not sure you can hear me right now, but if you can, let me put the question again. What's on ground at the moment? What's the situation like at this moment? All right, I'm afraid we can get through on the line to Festus Okoye, but we'll keep trying and hopefully we'll bring him back online to find out what's happening regarding the fire in INEC headquarters in Akure, Ondo State. In other news, following President Buhari's advice to members of the recently inaugurated Executive, Legislature and Party Consultative Committee to further align objectives of the party and be alive to electoral promises, the committee has held its first meeting to sharpen ways of moving the country forward. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo describes the commencement of the forum's assignment as the beginning of a more fruitful and cordial relationship among the different structures of the executive, legislative arms of government and the ruling party, and a more coordinated approach in the work of the federal government. State House correspondent Jide Onifade reports.
As one government, we must further align ourselves and be alive to our electoral promises.
That was Accountant President Muhammadu Buhari on the 31st of August this year, when the Tripartite Party Executive and Legislature Consultative Committee was being inaugurated. Here, members of the committee are arriving at the presidential villa 10 days after the inauguration for their first meeting. They were received by the chairman of the committee, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo. The president, on the 31st of August, expressed his firm belief in the doctrine of separation of power, said the practice should be harmonious checks and balances, devoid of bitterness and petty rivalry. It was a closed-door meeting which lasted for almost 3 hours. And here is the Senate president after the meeting. Are all together in this, trying to shape very strategic means of delivering services to Nigerian people. We want to ensure that there's good governance continuously for the entire period of our tenure and subsequent years that will be in government by the grace of God. And therefore, this first meeting was to look at those critical areas that we need to concentrate and focus on how to ensure that we improve on the way and manner in which we deliver services to the Nigerian people. The president, during the inauguration of this committee, said he placed great faith in the committee to help improve governance and achievements to the people. And this trust, the committee says, they will not betray. In the State House, Jide Onifade, NTA News.
Now, we told you earlier that there was a fire at the INEC headquarters in Akure, Ondo State. Earlier on, we tried to get on Mr. Festus Okoye, the INEC National Commissioner for Information and Voter Education. I think we do have him on the line now. Mr. Okoye, thanks for joining us. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. So tell us, what's the situation at this moment regarding the fire?
Well, the fire service are still trying to contain the fire. The fire is broke up in a container housing the smart card readers of the Independent National Electoral Commission. And the fire started around 7:30 this evening. And by 8 o'clock, I was already here. But the fire is still smoldering. We have additional resources from the fire service and making efforts to contain the fire and prevent it from spreading it to our office.
Now, with the card readers in that container, what's the situation? What can you tell us? What's next?
No, I'm not too sure that we can salvage any of the card readers because the fire is this smoldering, and then you know that the card reader contains batteries and so on. So it's impossible for us to salvage any of the smart card readers in that particular container.
Okay, so we understand that it's not just 500, 1,000 card readers. That's quite a number, right? 5,000.
We have a total of 5,141 smart card readers in the container. 4,141 belonging to the Ondo State Office, and 1,000 that they borrow from the Osun State Office for purposes of training supervisory presiding officers. So all of them are inside the container, and I'm not sure we can salvage even a single smart card reader from the container.
Right, that's a huge number. But Mr. Okoye, this isn't the first time that we've witnessed things like this. A build-up to an election, and then there's a fire at the INEC, office, and materials are destroyed.
Well, we cannot begin to speculate as of now what led to this particular fire, because some of the staff of the commission, we are in another office photocopying voters register that will be used for the election before the fire started raging. The moment we contain the fire, then we will begin the process of trying to investigate what exactly happened. But our main attention is to make sure that the fire is contained and that it doesn't spread to any of our offices, and that we are confident that any moment from now, the fire will be contained because we have additional resources from the fire service, and they are trying to contain the fire.
All right, but still the point is given the benefit of hindsight. This has happened before. It's happened again. So what is INEC thinking about when it's coming up to elections, about securing its materials?
Well, this one is really unfortunate because we are really getting ready for the conduct of this particular election. But I want to assure the people upon those days that we are going to recover from this particular incident. We still have almost 30 days to the election, and this is a one-state election. So despite the huge loss, we have the capacity to mop up smart card readers from other states and use them for the conduct of this particular election. So it will not affect the conduct of the elections. The only challenge here is that we have lost a large number of smart card readers, and these smart card readers were purchased with the Nigerian people's money, and it's quite unfortunate. But in terms of getting smart card readers with which to conduct the elections, we won't have a challenge with that. We will mop up smart card readers from the contiguous states of Ondo. All
right, INEC National Commissioner for Information and Voter Education, Festus Okoye, thank you for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, and still more on the political scene. The National Working Committee of the People's Democratic Party has appealed to the APC-led federal government to embrace initiatives and policy actions to promote a vibrant public-private driven economy. Timothy Yusuf tells us more.
The Legacy House of the People's Democratic Party in Abuja once again came alive as the National Working Committee members shifted base from the party's National Secretariat, the Wadata House, for this meeting. The state of the nation's economy, insecurity and anti-corruption fight dominated the agenda of the meeting, which resolved that private sector participation will give a quantum leap to the nation's economy. National Chairman of the PDP, Prince Uche Secondus, thereafter addressed supporters of the party who converged on the Legacy House to identify with the party.
Their message has been taken seriously, and we have deliberated upon it, and by the grace of God, we will do the needful.
The party's National Working Committee enjoined members and supporters to remain loyal to constituted authority at all times. In Abuja, Timothy Yusuf, NTA News.
The Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment is re-strategizing to shore up revenue for the Federation, especially through increased product concept and manufacturing. Permanent Secretary of the Ministry, Dr. Nasser Sani Gwarzo, stated this during an oversight visit of the Senate Committee on Industry, Trade and Investment to the Ministry. Ignatius Unkwo reports.
Few days to the end of its 2020 annual recess, the Senate Committee on Industry, Trade and Investment visited government establishments under its purview on a parliamentary oversight. It was basically to remind them of the need to generate more revenue for the federal government and to ensure prudent management of resources. The Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment was the first port of call.
Because automatically the ministry generates a lot of revenue to the national cover. And how we are going to generate more revenue?
We are encouraging industrial parks and business parks, business free trade zones to get access to electricity at a priority rate.
The ministry seized the opportunity to showcase some locally manufactured products under its supervision. The committee also visited the Oil and Gas Free Zones Authority headquarters and the Nigerian Export Processing Zones Authority, where the committee advised them to maximize their productivity and create employment opportunities for the youth so as to check security challenges and attract more revenue to the nation.
To assure you that we will continue to be focused and committed to ensuring that we achieve the mandate of the authority as provided under the law.
So we need to look at what others are doing and incentives that will attract those investors and make sure that the enabling environment is there.
The Senate is ready to really help this organization to perform better.
The senators promised to carry out amendment of laws that will enhance their mandates. In Abuja, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
And the conciliatory meeting to resolve impending industrial unrest by the joint health sector unions, JOHESU, is taking a dimension of give and take as both government representatives and JOHESU throw the meeting open to the media for transparent discussions. The meeting, which started resolving the issues brought before it by JOHESU, centered on the need to avoid beating the drums of war anytime there are matters in dispute. Government gave account of 29 billion naira approved for the settlement of COVID-19 hazard allowances for health workers, which is to address some of the issues raised by JOHESU. JOHESU has, however, taken government up on the omission of its members from the list of beneficiaries, but the government explained that the categorization is based on the peculiarities of jobs being performed by different health workers at different places. It, however, assured the unions that it will be addressed. Time for us to take a first break. The news will be back shortly. Keeping an eye on the pandemic now, President Muhammadu Buhari has approved an additional 8.9 billion naira as hazard allowance for all frontline medical workers involved in the fight against COVID-19 in Nigeria. Chairman of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 and Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, disclosed this at Thursday's briefing in Abuja. Mitaire Ipen reports.
The President's approval of 8.9 billion naira COVID-19 hazard allowance became imperative to address the concerns of health professionals, especially resident doctors who embarked on strike, and to safeguard the gains made so far in containing the pandemic in the country.
In addition, the procurement of personal protective equipment PPE for hospitals and isolation centers is in progress and will be given priority. We are in a global public health emergency situation, and we should eschew any action that will diminish the gains.
The PTF says risk assessment is crucial to reopening of schools.
10% of the positive cases are children and adolescents, with more than half of them in the age bracket of 10 to 18 years. It is therefore pertinent at this point to renew the warning of the Presidential Task Force on the reopening of schools so as not to expose our children to the risk of infection.
There's no doubt the reopening of schools and learning facilities must happen at some stage. We cannot run away from this. The education of our children is important, but it must be done in a safe manner, and we must continue to take responsibility.
In his first appearance at the PTF briefing, INEC Chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu announced that policy documents, including a 10-point voters' code of conduct, have been produced to guide forthcoming elections.
For instance, it is mandatory for every voter to wear the face mask or face covering, without which the voter will not be allowed to vote. We need to emphasize that we are not asking for the kind of face mask I'm wearing, not surgical face mask, but face covering. Face covering will be sufficient for the voter to be accredited and to vote.
The PTF reaffirmed that Nigeria has not received Russia's COVID-19 vaccine, which is still at the third stage of clinical trials. In Abuja, Mitaire Ikben, NTA News.
And still on the virus, the role of traditional rulers in the fight against coronavirus pandemic in Nigeria is taking center stage. This was at a meeting between the Northern Traditional Leaders Council and members of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 in Abuja. Anthony Forson reports.
The traditional leaders, being close to the people, have been identified as very strategic in the fight against the disease. At this meeting with the Northern Traditional Leaders, Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed, who stood in for the chairman of the Presidential Task Force, and Secretary to Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, commended the monarchs for their role in sensitizing their people to the reality of COVID-19.
It is for these reasons that the PTF on COVID-19 sought to deepen this collaboration with the NTLC in order to further accelerate our efforts in continuing to engage our communities to stop the prevailing community transmission of the pandemic.
Minister of Health Osage Ehanire gave an overview of the COVID-19 situation in Nigeria, despite the drop in the number of cases as the economy is being opened gradually. However, called for caution.
We are doing all we can to prepare our own not so strong health system for the worst, while we strive for the best. Nigeria has conducted not quite 500 million out of the 2 million tests targets, with over 55,000 positive and over 1,000 fatalities so far. Despite what appears to be declining test results that seem to give us hope of flattening the curve, we are not yet out of the woods.
And that because even from moving from 2 laboratories at the beginning of this to nearly 67 labs now, in less than 6 months, Nigeria has performed extremely well. The state of preparedness for isolation, care, and treatment, if you're looking at our numbers, positivity rates are down, the case fatality ratios are down. So we are well off because we are now carrying more, we're able to do better. So it shows that they have done a lot of work.
His Eminence, the Sultan of Sokoto, assured that traditional leaders, being close to the people, will remain committed to the fight against COVID-19.
We're trying to do our best by being role models. You can't see me publicly without my face mask, even though I have my inherited amawali from my forefathers. But I still wear this to show it, show that yes, COVID-19 is real.
We really cannot leave this all to government. We need to reach out to individuals in our communities so that we get assistance. There is need for a large quantity of masks, sanitizers, and so on.
There were goodwill messages from development partners. The collaboration between the PTF and the traditional rulers is aimed at instilling community acceptance about COVID-19 and the observance of the protocols as a way of preventing transmission. In Abuja, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
Next we go over to Michael Olale in Lagos for more reports. Michael?
Thank you, Cyril. The Nigeria Police Force Zone 2 Command
has emphasized on the need to foster a more strategic security plans with the Nigerian Army 81 Division to enhance internal security and prevent criminal activities within Lagos and Ogun zones. Assistant Inspector General of Police Zone 2 Command Ahmed Ilyasu stated this while receiving the new General Officer commanding 81 Division, Major General Godwin Umelo, in his office. Abolade Salami tells us more.
Crime in some red spots in the Lagos and Ogun corridor has been tactically fought by officers of the zone, with arrests and recoveries made. In sustaining this feat and mapping out other strategies of promoting internal security in the zones, the newly posted General Officer commanding 81 Division, Major General Godwin Umelo, is here to discuss with the police boss on his mission to ensure lives and property are more secured.
Lagos is a metropolitan city where everybody is in a haste and in a hurry. So, and being the economic hub of the country, it is important that adequate security is provided to allow such activities to go on.
While briefing the GOC, AIG Zone 2 Command Ahmed Ilyasu gives an update on community policing and how it has started yielding results in tackling insecurity in communities. He said the various security measures put in place by the Inspector General of Police to curb crime and insecurity in the country has recorded milestone, calling for support from citizens to complement security architecture to protect them from criminals.
In the new global trends, what is happening across the world, Africa and the sub-region where we are, Nigeria, is global insurgency, low-intensity warfare, proliferation of small arms, and other projectiles. In view of that, the national strategy to ensure safety and security is laid down through community policing.
Right on the spot, the Riot Act was read to those purporting crimes to stay away from the zone or face the consequence of arrest and prosecution. In Lagos, Abolade Salami, NTA News.
We now join our Benin Network Center for more stories with Ogo Chukwuka Ona.
Thank you, Michael. Welcome to Benin. The APC governorship candidate in Edo State says he will focus on a comprehensive and sustainable development plan that will impact on all sectors of the state's economy. He was in the Ipobalka local government area in continuation of his word-to-word campaign in Edo South. This is as athletes and sports enthusiasts in the state say they will queue behind the PDP candidates, Governor Godwin Obaseki. Agatha Egware-Ojo reports.
It was a rainy day, but it did not prevent members of the campaign train from meeting with the people in Ute Kuku, Urura wards 1 to 4 and St. Saviour wards 5 and 6. At one of the campaign grounds, former governor of Kano State, Ibrahim Shekarau, was present.
You want good school? BBC. You want employment? BBC. And when you get to the point of election, you look for APC. What is the symbol of the APC?
The candidate, who spoke in local dialect, assured the people of his commitment to people-oriented policies. Elsewhere, Pastor Izeyamu met with members of Nupeng, where the Vice President, Warri Zone, Alhaji Aleru Belu, spoke of their resolve to support him.
Your union is normally non-partisan, but that you chose to align with me, to support me, and to come out openly is something I will not forget.
The candidate also had a meeting with organized labor in Benin City, where former national chairman of the APC and NLC, Adam Sushomole, expressed disappointment with the present administration in the state.
Our disagreement with Masaki is on peaceful, nothing to do with personal interest.
Meanwhile, athletes and sports enthusiasts have been marching through the streets of Benin City in solidarity with Governor Godwin Obaseki and Philip Shaibu. They converged on the renovated Samuel Ogbemudia Stadium.
This rally is in appreciation of what he has done for sports.
Deputy Governor Philip Shaibu appreciated them for the show of support.
Why do we need second term? These coaches must be trained for them to be able to train world
champions.
With few days to the election, political parties are reaching out to more people to achieve victory at the polls. In Benin, Agatha Egwarojo, NTA News.
The news continues in Abuja after the break. Please stay.
We're back in Abuja with the rest of the news. The Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Ibrahim Tanko Mohammed, has inaugurated 85 judges that will entertain petitions that may arise from the forthcoming governorship elections in Edo and Ondo states. The Chief Justice, who administered the oath of office, asked the judges to conduct themselves within the ambit of the law. He also warned that he will not condone any act of recklessness, abuse of power and public trust. Vera Chumba reports.
Members were constituted by the President of Court of Appeal, Justice Monica Dangban-Mensah, in line with Section 1, Subsection 3 of the 6th Schedule of the 1999 Constitution, which empowers her to appoint election tribunal judges. Chief Justice of Nigeria, who administered the oath of office on the judges, said they should consider themselves worthy to be entrusted with the responsibility of deciding the fate of those who would be contesting offices in Edo and Ondo states, in addition to other political offices in other states, by virtue of the forthcoming elections.
Do what is right in our law, and you will have your names etched in the gold.
Section 258, subsection 6 of the Constitution is to the effect that the tribunal must deliver its judgment within 180 days from the date the petition is filed. The Edo governorship election is slated for 19th of September, while that of Ondo is billed for 10th of October. In Abuja, Viera Chumuba, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari rejoices with Dr. Adeshola Kazeem Adedunto, Managing Director, First Bank of Nigeria Limited, as he receives the Forbes Best Africa Award in New York City, USA. In a congratulatory letter, the President notes that the award attests again to the fact that Nigeria has a surfeit of illustrious professionals in all spheres of endeavor. The Forbes Best of Africa Award is for business personalities with records of creating and building great global businesses that have made far-reaching contributions to the development of Africa. President Buhari urges Dr. Adedunto to always raise the flag of the country proudly and tell the true Nigerian story to his colleagues and counterparts the world over. The Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Baba Abubakar, has charged instructors at the 401 Flying Training School, Kaduna, to remain on top of their game in turning out world-class combat pilots. Abdullahi Mohammed reports that the charge was on the heels of the approval by the federal government for 17 additional aircraft to the Air Force.
Smooth landing, a guard of honor to a distinguished combat pilot and the Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, at the 401 Flying Training School in Kaduna. His mission is to keep tabs on the new breed of Air Force pilots who are being groomed to take over the defense of the territorial integrity of Nigeria. 29 of them have spent more than 1 year flying the Diamond 40 and the Super Mishak aircraft.
It's not just about flying. That is training of air crew alone. You want to train engineers, you want to train technicians, and God willing, by next week or thereabout, we should also be graduating about 500 technicians that have finished their training at the Air Force Institute of Technology.
Now, a critical step has been taken by each one of them, with a possibility of more of late Tolulope Arotile being groomed.
In Kaduna, Abdullah Muhammad, NTA News.
Still on defense, the Nigerian military, in synergy with core intelligence and other security agencies, says it is sustaining its onslaught against terrorists and perpetrators of economic sabotage. Defense correspondent Naja'atu Tijani reports from the Directorate of Defense Media Operations.
In the Northwest Zone, the coordinator of the Directorate, Major General John Enenche, indicated sustained clearance operations by troops of Operation Hadarindaji.
Also,
Farm and highway patrols were carried out within the zone, hence boosting the confidence of the people in carrying out their human activities. These operations have most importantly led to the neutralization of armed bandits, arrest of suspected bandits and their collaborators, rescue of kidnapped victims, recovery of rusted cattle, smashing of illegal arms syndicates and illegal arms carriers.
Other operations across the geopolitical zones include the destruction of several illegal oil sites. While commending troops for their gallantry, the DMO reaffirmed the commitment of the armed forces of Nigeria to sustaining this tempo and urged Nigerians to check with the DMO for authentic security alerts. Naja'atu Tijani, NTA News.
Sports now. An African football governing body, CAF, has announced a new date for the upcoming Championship for African Nations CHAN 2020 tournament. During a meeting of its executive committee, which was held via video conference, the body announced that the continental competition will take place from January the 16th to February the 7th, 2021, still in Cameroon. For more on sports, here is Tabara Ibiwi.